In this video, we're going to define some key vocabulary for Unit 4. Our first vocabulary word is ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two like quantities. It can be written three ways. So looking at our example here, we have what's the ratio of circles to squares. These are like quantities because they're both shapes. So we have one circle to three squares. We can write this in word form with TO. We can write it in colon form with the two dots, or we could write it in fraction form. Our next word is rate. Rate is similar, but it's a comparison of two quantities with different units of measure. So comparing things like Cheetos to money. Those are not like quantities. So we have $4 for 2 bags of Cheetos, or $4 per 2 bags of Cheetos. A unit rate is a comparison of two unlike quantities that measure per 1 unit. So it's a special type of rate. Our denominator, or our bottom number, is always 1. So an example here is 25 miles per 1 hour. Now, when we see stuff like this, a lot of times the 1 is implied and we wouldn't say it. So 25 miles per hour. If there's no number defined, that means we're talking about 1 hour. And I always think of the example if I ask for a pencil. I wouldn't say, hey, can I borrow 1 pencil? I would just say, may I borrow a pencil? So if we're talking about an hour, we're talking about just 1. We can see this in fraction form. Sometimes we'll see the miles per hour are units written this way as well. Our next word is complex fraction. Complex fractions are fractions in which either the numerator, the top number, the denominator, the bottom number, or both contain fractions themselves. So our first example, we have 4 over 3/6. Now the fraction bar means division. So this whole complex fraction can be written as 4 divided by 3/6. Another example, we have a fraction in our numerator, 2/4 divided by 8, which is the same as 2/4 divided by 8. In our last example, we have a fraction in both our numerator and our denominator. So we have 3/9. Again, the fraction bar just means divided by 4/12. So we can rewrite this as 3/9 divided by 4/12. And then we know when we're dividing fractions, we would do our keep, change, find the reciprocal, and move on from there. Our next word is proportion. A proportion is a relationship between two equivalent ratios or fractions. So to determine if a proportion is true, we can cross multiply. And if the products are equal, then it is a true proportion. So looking at this, we have 20 times 5 is 100. And then we would check going the other way. So 4 times 25 is also 100. These are, in fact, proportional. Now, one way we can check for proportionality, which isn't always the easiest, we can check to see the relationship here. If 4 times 5 is 20, it is proportional if on the bottom or in my denominator we have that same relationship. So 5 times 5 is 25. So again, this is showing a proportional relationship. Our next word, we have percent, which literally means per or out of 100. So percent is part of something split into 100 pieces. Again, percent means out of 100 or per 100. We'll see is over of equals percent over 100. This is going to be really useful coming up this unit and next. Is over of is the same as part per whole equals percent out of 100. Is over of we'll see a lot in word problems. Like if it said something like what is 10% of 20? So the word problems will help us define what is the part and what is the whole. But we'll get more into that as the units progress. And then our last vocab word is compute. Compute is the act of calculating a value or using a mathematical formula. Calculating a value using mathematical formulas or methods. And it's another word really for solve. So if I say compute 5/8 divided by 1/4, again, I'd be asking you to solve for, in this case, the expression given.